see if this one works. Yes. All right. So just, a couple of facts that 40%, which is almost half of us, don't get enough sleep. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. And how that affects us is many ways, Not only can we not think clearly, right? And we're grumpy, and it affects our relationships, affects the way we work. It basically it is a lousy way of living when you don't have enough sleep. Agreed?
Yes.
Agreed? But also in long term, you could see all these different problems. I'm not going to read them out, but you could read them yourselves, right? Yeah, you guys could see the PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. What really pops out at me is Alzheimer's, and we're going to be talking about that. So this is very, very interesting. So melatonin is a hormone, all right, that gets produced while we sleep. Now, it helps us sleep and helps us keep us asleep, but it's also a very powerful antioxidant which fights disease. So what they found, there are numerous studies that found that tumors grow faster when we don't get enough sleep because of the lack of melatonin. That's not good, right? Growth hormone is also suppressed. I have another workshop that we talk about human growth hormone in the exercise workshop. And what growth hormone does for us is it keeps us young, it keeps us strong, it keeps us vibrant. All right. And please come to check out the Smart Exercise program, because that form of exercise produces growth. All right. So sleep deprivation prematurely ages you by interfering with growth hormone production. When we sleep, does everybody know what cerebral spinal fluid is?
Yes.
All right, so let me explain what cerebral spinal fluid is. So covering the brain and the spinal cord is a tissue called the meninges. And the meninges hold cerebral spinal fluid. And cerebral spinal fluid is the packing device for the brain and the spinal cord. So it protects it. It's like the science fiction movie when the brain is sitting in the jar. You can't just sit on the table, so he's like sitting in the jar. The brain. Now it also is a temperature regulator. It also brings nutrients are carried to the brain and the spinal cord through the cerebral spinal fluid. All right. And there's also messages that the brain sends messages to the spinal cord and the spinal cord back to the brain through neuropeptides. So the messages are not only flowing through the brain and the spinal cord itself, there's messages flowing through the cerebral spinal fluid. And it also, the cerebral spinal fluid, has its own pulse, its rhythm. It has a wave-like motion. And what that does, it actually cleans out all the inflammatory waste from the brain. So when that's not moving correctly, we're not clearing the inflammation from the brain, and that could lead to dementia and Alzheimer's. Right? The good news for you guys is that you're getting cranial work here, and that will stimulate the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid also. So that's why the cranial work is so important. Chiropractic that'll keep that moving too. Isn't that good news?
Sure.
All right. So let me explain a little bit about the nervous system. So our nervous system is made up of two parts. There's the voluntary nervous system, so I'm voluntarily scratching my head, right? And there's the involuntary nervous system, also known as the autonomic nervous system, which is like causing my heart to beat. I'm not telling my heart to beat. So all the different things that the organs and glands do happens automatically. It's called the autonomic, and it's run by the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system is broken up into two parts. One is the sympathetic, which we think of as fight or flight, but it's also action. When we're doing things, we're in sympathetic. Parasympathetic is relaxation, rejuvenation, and repair. Right? Which do you think, where do we want to be when we're going to sleep?
Parasympathetic.
Exactly. So can I ask you a question? If you're like my wife, and she wants to watch like that fourth freaking episode of Breaking Bad at like 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to go to sleep, is that going to affect your sympathetic nervous system or your parasympathetic nervous system? Anybody know what Breaking Bad is?
Yeah. I don't watch it.
It's great. But it definitely stimulates your sympathetic nervous system and puts you more in a fight or flight. And how do you think that's going to affect your health, your sleep?
It'll drain it.
Yeah. So these are just tips to get a better sleep. All right. One is to really sleep in complete darkness, or as close to it as possible. All right. So if you have like alarm clocks, you know, it's bad too. People have televisions and they have the cable box with the lights on, cell phone. You want it dark. All right. If you can't seem to get your room as dark as possible, I sleep with an eye mask sometimes. It's amazing the difference that helps in my sleep, just having that darkness. Of course, light will actually stimulate your nervous system to wake up. That's the way it works. Don't let your room get too hot. Shouldn't be too warm. I personally sleep with the freaking windows open all winter. And that really makes a difference. All right. Now, not only are we moving the alarm clocks and the other devices from our bed because of the light, but because the electrical activity and the EMFs that they provide. Now, this is something, this isn't on here, I'm going to add it. This is really important for everybody use their cell phone as their alarm clock.
I do.
All right. And you keep your cell phone by your night table, by your bed, right?
Right.
So all night, you're getting these electromagnetic currents that are really unhealthy for you. Now, what you could do about that is when you go to bed, put the phone on airplane mode. It's a really important habit to get into. You know, in this half hour, that might be one of the most important things that could make a real big difference in your health.
Will the alarm still work?
Alarm still works. Just put your phone on airplane mode. And then it's not getting all those messages, all right? That should be enough. I could just stop right now. The other thing is to reserve your bed for sleeping. That means that you don't want to be watching television in your room. You don't want to be doing your taxes on the bed, right? Makes sense? This is the place, your sanctuary, where you go to sleep. And, you know, I mean, I'm not telling you this, maybe some activities that are more appropriate in the bed. And that might help you sleep better too. But Um, but other than that, just sleep in your bed. All right. Now, that last thing, consider separate bedrooms. You know, if you share a bed with someone who's really a restless sleeper, or they snore like crazy, like my wife, she never listens to me, so I could say that.
I was gonna say.
I sleep with earplugs. All right. But she also, her schedule is different than mine, and she wakes up 5 o'clock in the morning to get to work. And on the nights that she has to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it felt really weird at first. Like, well, I'm not going to sleep with my wife. That's terrible. But actually, it's the greatest thing that ever happened because she's not waking me up 5 o'clock in the freaking morning, you know? And then when, we don't have to wake up early in the morning, then, we really look forward to being able to sleep together, you know? But it's not worth it. Also, freaking pets. I don't know how many people tell me that their dog kept them up all night. Your dog kept you up all night? Is that really worth it? Make sense?
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about preparing for sleep. And I'll be able to make copies of this if anybody wants. You can get copies of these slides. Getting to bed early is a big thing. All right, because if we could more follow the way the sun, I can't remember how to say it correctly, circadian rhythms, right? If we're more in tune with the sun coming up and coming down, and also if we have to get up early, some people go to sleep late and wake up early. They're not getting enough sleep. Just getting to bed early, and that's something to me is very interesting because a lot of things that keep us up at night are just distractions. Is it that important to spend an extra hour on YouTube or on Facebook? Is it that important to watch the extra show? I personally would rather get to bed early and wake up early and use that time more productively. That's me. Right? It's important to keep your bedtime constant. So make your bedtime regular. Your body gets used to that. Don't drink fluids within 2 hours of bedtime. Why is that?
You're not up all night going to bed.
Yes, you're not up all night going to the bathroom. And it works, Careful, I just don't drink anything for 2 hours before I go to bed. Go to the bathroom before. The protein helps simulate sleep. So it's good to have some protein 2 hours before you go to sleep. Don't eat sugars or grains. That'll tend to send your nervous system more into sympathetic. All right. Hot bath relax us. Eye mask, like I was saying before. Reading something spiritual, uplifting, also puts us more into that parasympathetic place. Calms us down. No TV. And journaling is a wonderful thing to do because it helps you quiet your mind. When you write stuff down, you're not going to be thinking about it all night. Does that make sense with the journaling?
Yep.
Pillows. All right, pillows. People ask me about that all the time. If you're a side sleeper, right, for people who sleep on their backs, it's not as much as an issue. But if you're a side sleeper, it's really important for your head to be parallel to the bed. You don't want your head like this. You don't want your head like that. All right, because it compresses your shoulder, puts your neck out of alignment. I personally, one of my patients who was in really bad shape, her neck was a freaking mess, found this pillow, and she actually stopped coming to see me after she bought this pillow. So I shouldn't tell you about it. All right, so this pillow is the weirdest freaking pillow you ever seen. It's called the oh man, I'm getting a blank. The Therapeutica sleep pillow. And the weird thing about it, so I bought one, and I sleep so much better since I've gotten this pillow. And the weird thing about it, it's not comfortable. It's not like all cozy and comfortable, but I sleep so much better. And part of the pillow is it's almost just like a foam block, and you measure your shoulder to get the right size. So your head is just totally straight, totally supports you. I think it's great. And then it's actually really great for back sleepers because it has a little pocket. So it has two of these foam blocks and a little pocket between them
I get this.
with a support for your neck. So I find it incredibly comfortable using it when I'm on my back, and I really sleep better when I sleep on my side. Kathy, you got the My Pillow?
Yep.
And she said she swears by that.
Yeah, I was skeptical, but it's great.
But she really loved that. All right. So that's that. Those are two ideas. Right? So this is important too. I once had a patient who couldn't sleep at night. Literally slept maybe an hour a night. And she was an exercise fiend. And she thought that if she could exercise 2-3 hours, it would exhaust her and she'd fall asleep easier because she'd be so tired. But it had the opposite effect because if you exercise too much, you end up stimulating your adrenals and it puts you in sympathetic fight or flight. So too much exercise is actually going to hurt your sleep. All right. Another thing that a lot of people get wrong is alcohol. You figure, oh, I have a drink or two, it relaxes me, I'll sleep better. Alcohol actually doesn't allow your body to get the same kind of rest that you would have been without it. So too much exercise and too much alcohol, you're not going to sleep as well. All right? It's important to exercise, just not too much. A sleep app that one of our patients told me about, I found it to be great. It's called Mindify. So it's like a sleep hypnosis app. Mindify, you could get it, you know. It wasn't very expensive. It was like $20 or something like that. Right once. That was a really good app. So supplementation. There are a couple of natural supplements that will help you sleep better. And they're not like messing with your nervous system. All right. Vitamin B complex relaxes your nervous system, helps you go more into parasympathetic. GABA, and we have a sublingual spray here, and I do use it because it helps me sleep. It really helps me a lot. It's called Neurocon. And that allows your nervous system to relax more. And what's interesting is that the GABA also, you produce more human growth hormone, stimulates human growth hormone production. So it's a really pretty cool thing. Melatonin, which we were talking about, but you have to be careful if you're taking that all the time because you might end up producing less of your own. Magnesium relaxes your muscles and helps you sleep better, magnesium. And what I'm going to add to this too is that if you've had a pretty physical day and just kind of achy, Arnica montana 30 cc's, which is a homeopathic remedy, which you could get at the health food store, but we sell it here too. These little capsules you just put it under your tongue, and it just lets your muscles relax. and you don't feel as achy. So, you know, if I had like a real physical day, and I just feel kind of, and what I don't have here, which is so freaking important, is if I have a real hard day here, and I get home, I'm all achy, intense, and I go right to bed, the arnica helps, but stretching before I go to bed makes a huge difference. And we had the stretching, the stretching video didn't record, but I'll do it again real soon. But the stretching, you stretch before you go to bed, again, it helps you relax and put your body more into that parasympathetic. It makes a big difference. So some gentle yoga and stretching helps also. All the things that make a difference. Avoid alcohol, avoid caffeine, right? Exercise. Menopause, people get hot flashes and stuff. Chiropractic, acupuncture, different energy work could really help with that. And chiropractic keeps your nervous system balanced and healthy, which ultimately affects your sleep, right? What chiropractic does is it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. Every time you come here, it's balancing the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So that makes a big difference too. All right. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is breath. Does anybody here kind of wake up to pee and then they get back into bed and their brain is just going and going and going and going, right? You start thinking about all the stuff that there are times when I'm not even thinking about anything and I'll start laying down and I'll go to myself, what do I have to worry about? I'll actually look for it. You know, what do I have to worry about so I can't fall asleep? Right? Learning breathing exercises and meditation make a huge difference. Just following your breath. A very simple thing is if you're in your body, you're not going to be like stuck in your mind. You're not going to be in those two places at once. All right. So breathing, let's say to the count of 4, breathe in, breathe out to the count of 4, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, counting the breaths. This will help you to self-calm. And, you know, what I also feel is helpful is if you're meditating every day, you know, and that also, meditation teaches you how to self-calm, right? And teaches you how not to get caught up in the tangle of our thoughts. And you end up going down that rabbit hole. And that's what keeps people up probably more than anything. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
You know, that our brain gets activated and it puts us into that sympathetic, you know, and all of a sudden we're just doing and thinking and worrying. So learning how to self-calm is the most important thing you do. If you're interested, I have this great meditation app. I just think it's awesome. I think I've learned so much from it. I've been meditating for many, many years. And it's by a guy named Sam Harris. He's a really interesting man. And it's called Waking Up. And if you're interested in doing that and learning that, I could give you a free month. So you could check it out for a month and see how it works for you. So that self-calming thing is so freaking important. Well, guess what? It's 7 o'clock. Perfect.
Time goes fast when you're having fun.
Oh, God, there you go. So what I wish for everybody is a sweet dreams and a good night's sleep. You learn some new things, put them to work. They will help. And what I wish for everybody, especially Bob Muley, is that you wake up tomorrow morning too.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Love you guys, and we'll see you in the office.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye,
Good
thank
night.
you.
Thank you. Night.